It is time to check in with Burlington's Mayor, Marianne Meed Ward. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Bob. The sun is shining.
Yes, a beautiful day is in store. Yeah. Since we last spoke, Maclean's magazine is back with its best places to live. I remember in 2019, Burlington #1, but they changed the criteria up, so there's a bit of some slippage.
There is, yes. We are countrywide. We are now at 35, and part of that is they introduced a whole new category called internet connection. They changed their focus entirely to, what's the best place to work from home in a pandemic.
Right, and this has been an issue in Burlington, hasn't it?
Half of our landmass is rural, and we have been fighting for rural broadband along with our partners in Halton, Milton, Halton Hills, and Oakville to some extent, to get rural broadband. So once we get that squared away, we've had some success. Our numbers will go up again, but we're still #1 in Halton. We're in the top 5 in the GTHA, and we're in the top 15 in Ontario. So we also want to give a shout out to Halifax. They're #1 this year. Awesome place to visit. Great seafood. Wonderful people. So
I used to work there. Yeah, but they've changed some economic criteria as well, which didn't benefit Burlington.
Wealth and economy is no longer a category at all, and we always did quite well on that. So when you change the rankings or the criteria every year, it makes absolute sense that other communities might, pop up. But Burlington is #1 in our hearts of all the people who live and work here, and will be that way no matter what. So
yes,
it's great place to live, work, raise a family.
Now, there was another thing, the Most Open Cities Index, and a 9th ranking for Burlington in North America.
In North America. So that's about open data. So government's providing direct access to all the data so that people can not only see it, but run their own codes or charts or whatever they want to do with the data. So a couple of the things that we do, we tell people what the recorded votes are. We tell people if there are conflicts of interest. We have a whole, it's called GIS mapping system where you can find all kinds of different data points about the city. So we were recognized North America-wide for that. So more to come on open government, but it's our commitment to accountability and transparency in the community.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the Civic Square reno. Some big money's been thrown at that.
Lots of money. The project, the funding announcement actually allows us to get started on the plans and consulting with the community. There won't actually be shovels in the ground until 2025. So it's still a ways off yet in terms of when the project will actually come to fruition. And part of that is there's a lot of construction, as people know, across the street with development. We don't want to have too much happening at the same time. So even though the funding announcement is this year, there's still lots of time to plan and have your say on what you would like to see there. It's the heartbeat in the heart of downtown, as I call it.
Absolutely. How are things going with the stay-at-home orders? We're hearing some overcrowding at Spencer Smith Park. Is that an issue?
So we have seen lots of people come down to the parks, and it's really around the playground areas that things tend to get a little bit congested, although kudos to all the kids I saw in a recent video and when I dropped by wearing masks. So you don't have to wear a mask outside. It's not part of our bylaw, but we do strongly encourage when people feel they might be closer than that 6 feet or hockey stick apart to wear a mask. I have seen that. But we really strongly encourage people to stay away from anybody you don't live with, 6 feet away from anyone you don't live with, and wear a mask indoors and outside, especially if social distancing is an issue. But for the most part, throughout Spencer Smith and Beachway, I'm out almost every weekend and sometimes daily. People are staying in their small bubbles of household groups. There's a lot of folks there, and we want people to be out and able to exercise, but make sure you keep a distance from anyone you don't live with.
Yeah. Just before we go, you're launching a monthly women's speaker series?
I am. This was one of the suggestions that came out of my Women's Day virtual lunch. The panel was so well received. I had great guests, and people were saying we need to do this more often. There is so much wisdom right here among women in our community. We know that women are part of the she-covery, the recovery that will come post-COVID, and we want to hear from people not just once a year during International Women's Day, but every month. And so I committed to doing that. We have an amazing lineup. And as we started planning for this, we realized we have so many women, we could do this for infinity,
Yeah.
to talk to the people in our community. So
Well,
very
I'm glad-
excited about that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we could share that news. And thanks again for your weekly updates. We'll do it again next week. Burlington Mayor Mary Ann Mead Ward.
Look forward to it. See you, Bob.